right down the street from here, not far from here, off of Greenleaf. I showed you where my dad's shop was, but unfortunately, like so many families, my mom and dad divorced, and so my mom, this was a place, when we left 109th and Main, we moved over to this little duplex, which sits on Acacia, and it's right off of Greenleaf, right next to the creek. I don't know what it was about my family, we couldn't get away from that creek. So when I was a kid, I used to, look out my windows here, and I'd look at the creek, and when we were young, we used to get on our bikes, and this is me kind of pointing towards this direction. We used to ride our bikes all through the creek, and none of these buildings and stuff were here. It was just all open space. And we would come all down into this area. It didn't quite look like this, because we didn't have the hotel, we didn't have all this development. It was just open space, and we'd ride. There was always a lot of debris. I remember when I was young. There was always some kind of way, a lot of trash and debris, but it didn't bother us as kids. It was an adventure for us. And we'd always go, the creek looked more like this when we were young. It was kind of like a jungle, and we'd get out and eat the crawfish and the shellfish, and it was kind of like a lot of quicksand, and it was kind of one of those situations where it was an adventure. I mean, you could leave Compton and find yourself out in the middle of nowhere. And we would ride our bikes, and this is where the Compton Creek joins the LA River. And so we'd ride our bikes, and there was a way that we had developed a little path where we'd go all the way to Long Beach, and we'd go fishing. Put our fishing poles on the back of our bike and ride along the top of the LA River, and we used the Compton Creek kind of a shortcut to get that way. But it was just kind of one of those fun things when we were young, growing up around the creek. It kind of gave me, it wasn't the Mississippi River, no, it wasn't that, but it was our little river. And we always took pride in our little river, the Compton Creek. Now, this segment here, I'm going to kind of share with you, with that foundation and coming up in Compton and having an opportunity to have exposure to the creek and open fields and having a lot of mentors that kind of molded me and got me prepared to go out into the world as a professional, it was great. But I went to UC Davis after I left Compton, and I studied agriculture. I worked at the UC Davis Arboretum. It was a great opportunity. I had a chance to visit various universities. I was very active with various NGOs around the community. I was a ranger. And these are some of the nonprofits and some of the agencies that I did work with. I was a consultant, an outreach person. And so what I'll show you in this next segment are some of the opportunities that I was able to experience in traveling the country. Okay, I was able to do a lot of work with the national parks, as I mentioned, and we did some work in the New Mexico area. When Bill Clinton was president, he actually appointed Robert Stanton, first African-American National Park Director. And I had an opportunity to work under Robert Stanton. And there's a lot of great opportunities. Also, there's an organization, the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, and they meet every year. And I was fortunate for several years to go to that event, and they brought all your big-time sportsmen that were conservationists together. We would think about strategies on how to fish and hunt, but also be stewards. And so it was a great opportunity there. I had a chance before President Barack Obama became president to work with him in Springfield. There was a project in Illinois where Illinois found out that a lot of their money was going out of the state to import fish. And that a lot of people in Chicago, I don't know how many of you folks have been to Chicago, but on every corner there's a fish restaurant in Chicago. And so what they decided to do in Illinois was to create an aquaculture industry. So they put $20 million, and what they started doing is looking at the old strip mines. Illinois had a history of having a lot of strip mines. So they took those strip mines and converted them into ponds. And they were able to raise catfish, tilapia, shrimp. And what they did was in Springfield, they set up a big processing facility so they could process it. And the whole goal was to keep the dollars in the state of Illinois, to be able to have fish growing and be able to produce it and even have extra where they could sell it to other states. So I was fortunate to work with not only Barack Obama, but some other legislators there in Illinois on that project. Got a chance to get around. This is various representatives, Jesse Jackson, his son, Ms. Waters, Congressman Ford, Congressman Davis out of Chicago, and had a lot of opportunity to meet with these folks. And educate them on the possibilities of agriculture, sustainable agriculture and conservation. This was 10 years before our green movement, so we were planting seeds 10 years ago. The green movement just didn't happen. It was people getting out there and advocating over the last 10, 15 years. And I'm so glad to see that, you know, everybody's green now. But this is the state director. I'm not sure if she's the state director now, but about 8 years ago, she was the state director for 4-H. My life has been molded by 4-H. You know, as a young person, I was a 4-H bison member here in Compton. And when I went to UC Davis, I was very active with 4-H. And in addition to that, I was on the 4-H national sports fishing team. So I had a chance to travel around the country doing all types of workshops on aquatic education and sports fishing. But I owe a lot to 4-H. It's a great program. Let me go back here. This here is when I was a seasonal ranger for Lopez Lake. And these are my volunteers. We taught about, somewhere around 1,000 kids how to fish. We taught them how to be stewards and how to, appreciate the environment. And these were all volunteers that were part of that. At UC Davis, I had opportunity to be a radio announcer on KDVS. That's the radio station at Davis. And we did a lot of talks, a lot of interviews, outdoor type of events and stuff when I was there. But this is me coming back to the school about 5 years ago. They let me get on the radio and kind of talk a little bit, old times. This is in Chicago. This is a school called Dixon Elementary School. And we were active in putting together a horticulture program. And they had just got this greenhouse set up. And in addition to the horticulture program, they also put together a fish farm in their basement. And they were producing mosquito fish. Because this took place back in 2000 when they had the big West Nile virus issue. And so what we were doing at this school was we were producing the mosquito fish in the basement, and then we were able to take them out to the community and release them in different ponds and stuff. So the kids were empowered. They felt that they were helping to eradicate the West Nile issue. Okay, these are some kids that we took, about 500 kids, national parks, and we brought them together for a week and did a whole bunch of talks and different training for national parks conservation. This here is a high school in Chicago. It's the Chicago Agricultural High School. It's a high school that's dedicated strictly to agriculture. And I had a chance to spend some time there, and it's really a great school. If you ever get a chance, go on the internet and look up Chicago School of Agriculture. And it's really positive. This is at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. It's there in Beltsville, Maryland. One of the largest, if not the largest, research centers in the world. It has the largest agricultural library in the world. And I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time there. This is Smokey, me and Smokey there in South Padre Island at a National Environmental Educator Conference.